your cell phone or mute it? No, please. And if a latecomer comes in and sits next to you, please ask them to do the same. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. While we're waiting for the governor to arrive, I thought I'd take a minute just to explain the program this morning. So, of course, the governor will be here, and there will be remarks made. And then, because of his schedule, right now he's scheduled to leave right after his remarks. There is a second piece of the morning, however, so we'll take a short break in place after the governor leaves, and to take time to recognize the vendors that have supported us here or up to this point on the 12 GeV upgrade project. So for our distinguished guests and visitors, you're welcome to stay. If you have something else that you need to do, you're also welcome to leave right after the governor leaves. It's totally up to you. So that part of the program will take just probably 5 or 10 minutes. So that's the plan. Any questions? Good.
Good morning, all. This is not your usual all-hands meeting. We're not going to start with a strong push on safety, but of course, we all know it is important. Today is a big day for Jefferson Lab. Reception of approval of completion of the Accelerator and ready for operation. The first phase of our CEBAF 12 GeV upgrade project is special for the lab, and we're really pleased to see so many of our supporters and contributors here today. What I'd like to do is to combine a brief commentary and expression of appreciation to those contributors with a welcome to our distinguished guests. So the laboratory and the project are funded primarily by the United States Department of Energy and its Office of Nuclear Physics. They are represented by Tim Hallman, head of the Office of Nuclear Physics, by Joe Rango, our Thomas Jefferson Site Office Manager, and by Mike Epps, the 12 GeV Federal Project Director. Although none could be present today, we have received important support from the Virginia delegation in Washington. Both Senators Kane and Warner wrote letters in support of nuclear physics, and the House delegation with our local Congressman Scott Ritchell, Bobby Scott, and Robert Whitman has been very prominent. Present today we have de Montreboom with Representative Bobby Scott's office, and we have Shannon Kendrick from Scott Ritchell's office. We're very pleased to have them here. Now, we've received over the years consistent support from the Commonwealth of Virginia, and in fact for the 12 GeV upgrade project they made a special appropriation to support the project. And so we're especially delighted today by the presence of Governor McAuliffe. We also have members of our state delegation. John Miller is here, and Monty Mason, and I think I've not seen David Yancey, but he also sent his good wishes. Now, federal and Commonwealth support are very important, but so also is our local support. We like to feel he is part of our team and that we're part of the city's team. So we're especially pleased to welcome the Newport News team, Mayor McKinley Price, Vice Mayor Rob Coleman, City Manager James Burry, Tom Herbert, the Vice Chairman with the city's Industrial and Economic Development Authority, and we've also got Florence Kingston and a team from the city's Development Department, Sherry Crouchaw, Carol Meredith, Chris Morello, and Sam Workman. Of course, these are people that we see on a pretty regular basis, but it's really good to see them on a day of celebration. But most importantly, the reason for this gathering is to recognize the efforts of the members of the 12 GeV project team. In a later phase of this ceremony, we'll hear from Klaus Rode, the project leader, and Alison Long, his deputy, who have led the project. It is their team which has brought us to the Department of Energy Critical Decision 4A approval 5 months ahead of schedule, with a machine which we've already demonstrated can reach its goals, and for which many scientific researchers from across the world are eagerly waiting. The 6 GeV incarnation of CEBAF ran until 2012, and we're seeing some marvelous physics results from the data that produced. The upgrade doubles the energy and introduces several new elements to our program. For example, in the new experimental hall, which received most of the Commonwealth support, we have a brand new experiment. The whole lab has pulled together to support the project and now to start the commissioning. But of course, we're also redoubling our efforts to complete the later phases of the project as we go towards completion of CD4B of the project. Now, there are some senior project managers who have said to me, you know, a project, basically it's a procurement. In one form or another, each piece of the project is a procurement. So vendors and good vendors are a key. And a project like this uses vendors from the local area, but also from far away. So we've invited our best vendors on the project to receive recognition, and some of them are here today, and we're very appreciative of that. And they'll participate in the second phase of the ceremony. The operating contract for the laboratory is held by Jefferson Science Associates. We're pleased to have 2 voting members of the board present. I should say I'm a member of the board, but non-voting, so, you know, down here, you know. But up there is President Bill Harvey of Hampton University, who's been a long-time member of the board of directors at JSA. And the second is Jerry Dreyer, who I sometimes refer to as my boss, the vice chair of Jefferson Science Associates and president and CEO of Southeastern University Research Association. So I'm introducing Jerry, whose job it is to introduce our honored guest, the Governor of Virginia. Thank you very much indeed.
So, on behalf of Jefferson Science Associates and SURA, 62-member university consortium that I had, I want to congratulate Mont and his team on the accomplishments that we celebrate today. This upgrade ensures yet another generation of great science can be done here at this laboratory in the Commonwealth of Virginia. To successfully reach this milestone on a project that is this large in scope takes a lot of hard work, and it takes time. The mission need for this project, which is CB0 in DOE jargon, was issued back in 2004. Prior to that, of course, a lot of work had been done by a lot of parties, but officially it began the DOE's books in 2004, with the actual groundbreaking happening 5 years later. And here we are, 2014. That's 10 years from official to now. Good science takes a lot of planning and takes time. This accomplishment in the lab's life is a result of the intellectual leadership of many peoples. Clearly the scientists need to be there, but collaborators from all corners of the state, the nation actually, and then locally here. Technicians, mentioned contractors, strong leadership, clearly, and most importantly, of course, the Department of Energy and the great support that we have received from them. And then, last but by no means least, the taxpayers who pay the bill. Have to and certainly appreciate what they do. Additionally, this project has deepened by the long-time relationship that we've had with the Commonwealth. That has been great. We've also enjoyed the support of the lead institutions within Virginia. Bill Harvey is here, has been on our board. We've enjoyed the presence of presidents from our lead universities throughout the history of this project. The partnership has been strong from the very beginning with the Commonwealth of Virginia. Way back, before my time at this lab, in 1983, when the Nuclear Sciences Advisory Committee actually recommended that SURA be selected and funded to build the next large nuclear physics laboratory, a section of the report says right there that the state of Virginia contributed upfront 2 things. One was the BARC building, the Virginia Associated Research Center, which is still on our property. But in addition, they committed $1 million a year for staff support to get it up and running, and that has continued through to today. And it pointed out that back then, maybe $160K doesn't sound like a big number today, but that was laid on the table as cash by then Governor Robb to help light the fire to get this thing going. Virginia's support has come, most of it, to us through the Department of Education. We certainly appreciate and recognize that. Virginia has continued throughout the history of Jefferson Lab here to bring support to us and help us to gain more support. And this 12 GeV project that we're celebrating here today is no exception. $9 million in special appropriations between 2010 and 2011 helped us make sure that this project stayed on time and ultimately delivered on time. The funds were critical to keeping this going when the times were a little tough during the Great Recession just passed. Over the years, if you add it all up, the Commonwealth, sir, has contributed $44 million to this facility. That's a significant bite, every one of which, and even the pennies in that we are thankful for and appreciative of. That investment by the state has leveraged well over $2 billion in federal funds coming into this community and into this state. Jefferson Lab now is not only a great science lab, it's a world leader, bar none, in the area of its expertise. It's a good investment for the community, for the state, and of course, again, we thank the federal government for choosing us and letting us be their servants here in this setting. 37 weeks ago tomorrow, our honored guest stood on the steps of the Capitol in Richmond. It's been that long.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And you said, top priority will be to lay the groundwork for a diverse and growing economy. We heard it, and we feel that we are an integral part of that. Furthermore, you pledged that even though the governorship is a short period, that you plan to set the stage for continuing growth going forward. And we certainly look forward to that, and we want to be an integral part of that vision going forward. And so, indeed, it is my responsibility, but more so my pleasure, to introduce our special guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 72nd Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Terry Powell.
Well, good morning, everybody. What an honor to be here at Jefferson Labs. I thank you. Let's give Hugh and Jerry a great round of applause. All these universities together. It really is spectacular. I want to thank all our great legislators who are here today, our great Senator Miller and Delegate Monty Mason. Stand up, we got Delegate Mamie Bacone with us here today. We are so blessed to have her. And it's a great mayor to be back with you in Newport News, the greatest mayor in America right here. President's good to be back with you again, and everybody. Honestly, it is an honor to be here today. That's right, I did take the oath of office about 37 weeks ago. I talked about what we needed to do in Virginia to grow and diversify our economy. I said first and foremost, especially in the scientific fields, we always have to be open and welcoming to everyone. That's why, as you know, my executive order number 1, no discrimination in the state workforce based on anything. There will not be discrimination tolerated. I followed it right up with some actions as it relates to the Board of Health to make sure that under my tenure that women feel open and welcoming to come here to Virginia. Now one single women's health center will close while I am governor. So we've dealt with some of those issues to make sure that we're open and welcoming to everyone. But then it's the issue of how do you grow and diversify. We have to do that in Virginia. I think we're all aware of budget cuts. We're aware of sequestration. In 11, 12, and 13 in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we saw $9 billion worth of cuts from the DOD, primarily in Northern Virginia. That's about 20% of the contracts. George Mason University just came out with a study that will equate to about 154,000 jobs lost. We have to make sure as we move forward, because best guesstimate is sequestration in 2.5 years will probably go into effect. I don't see any likelihood this or the next Congress is going to change it. We're looking at $50 to $90 billion of additional cuts to DOD. Virginia is the #1 recipient of Department of Defense dollars. It's great when they're spending money, but when they're cutting, obviously it's a different game for Virginia. So my whole goal, protect the assets that we have, but most importantly is grow and diversify a new economy. And what we're doing here, and that's why I wanted to be here today, is exactly what Jefferson Labs has done. Allows us to send a message to the globe that we are leaders here. And we are a world-class research state, and primarily because of all the great work that's done here at Jefferson Labs. As you know, Jefferson Labs produce 1/3 of all PhD nuclear physicists in the United States of America. Give that a great round of applause. Out of the helicopter, I was reading my briefing book, and I got on there reading all this stuff. I had a hard time even reading it, and I'm glad I was a liberal arts guy. You know, I was better talking than the physicist. I still remember Sister Baptiste back at junior in high school for Golly. God bless all of you for the work that you're doing. Some are better being nuclear physicists, others are better at being politicians. But as you know, the economic engine that goes on here at Jefferson Labs brings in 1,300 international users annually, which is so great for our Commonwealth. It generates $217 million for the local economy. 2,000 employees here at Jefferson Labs, 121 patents, 360 invention disclosures produced, and the commercialization of the science not only helps us as it relates to the energy issues, but also now with health imaging, which obviously is so important. The economic impact studies have shown that investments in Jefferson lab facilities and the programs benefit the Commonwealth with 50% of the spending going to Virginia companies. $44 million in investments by the Commonwealth has returned more than $2 billion in federal funding since 1995. That is a great return on investment. I gave a speech the other day. We were down for the new launch of the USS John Warner, our beautiful new Virginia-class submarine, which Secretary Mavis was up with us at the christening. And I'm proud to announce that they announced that it was supposed to go elsewhere, that it's going to be home ported here in Virginia, which is going to be worth thousands of jobs. But I made the point, as governor, if the federal government has money, I want it back here in Virginia. I'm not one of these politicians, oh, I don't want any federal money. I want every single penny I can get. I just want you to know, let there be no illusions. I'm not into all this other stuff. Oh, they can keep it. I want it. Right, gentlemen, ladies? You're with me on this? Yeah, right. Healthcare, everything else, let's bring it on home here. Let's build the Commonwealth. Okay. All right, let's save the healthcare for later. A $9 million investment in the 12 giga-electron volt. How was that? Giga-electron volt. Pretty good? This upgrade, which our $9 million investment was matched with a $338 million match from the federal government. I call that quite a match. Recently, as you know, a $5 million investment in the free electron laser project led to a $120 million investment from the Department of Defense. The 12 GeV upgrade that we're doing today, which resulted, as I say, in $338 million original ability for us to take our energy capability of the Accelerator from 6 billion electron volts to 12 billion electron volts. How'd that sound? Give that a round of applause. Pretty good. I don't have a clue what I just said, but boy, it sounds good. I gotta tell you that. Oh boy. It is great being governor. I get to come down and do all these great events. As you know, you've been reading the papers. I'm trying to get Stone Brewery to come here. It's between Ohio and Virginia. The other night, I had to have all the Stone Brewers from San Diego at the mansion. I had to drink beer with them all night. It is so hard to be governor. I gotta tell you, things I have to do. But the 12 EV upgrade ensures that the Thomas Jefferson National Accelerator facility, which already is a gigantic economic engine for the region, the state, and our nation, will play a strategic and important role of the exploration of the physics of the basic building blocks of the matter, obviously the atom, and the advancement of the nation's scientific knowledge. Not only is this an asset to the science community, J-Labs hosts 12,000 students a year with over 1,000 teachers. And what I love is we have all of these students here, they stay. They love Virginia, and it helps us grow and diversify. And the curriculum that is developed here, as you know, is used at universities all over the country. I'm working as governor every day to market our Commonwealth to companies across the globe, and this Accelerator facility with today's upgrade is a huge economic asset. So I wanted to come here today to say thank you as we grow and diversify the economy. What we are doing here today is just a tremendous step to help us do it, continue to grow, you build upon what we're doing here. The opportunities we have in Virginia with cybersecurity, genome sequencing, data analytics, we owe it to our children to make sure we're building that new Virginia economy, and the shining star of that new Virginia economy is what we're doing here at Thomas Jefferson Labs. So I thank you, it's an honor to be here, and let's fire this thing up.
No, you don't get to flip a switch, in fact.
There are switches, aren't there?
There are switches, but they won't even let me touch it. To tell a little story there, we did a photo op of the accelerator being switched off at the end of the 6 GeV running, and they gave me a mouse, and I know that Arne Freiberger made sure that that mouse was not connected to it. Okay, thank you very much, Governor. In fact, we were told that you have half an hour, and so that's it. Unfortunately, we have to escort you out of the building.
I'll be honest, the reason I have to leave, I've got a great date on here. I'm now going down to Old Dominion University, where I'm cutting the ribbon on a brand new business school center for entrepreneurship. So it's a great day. Thank you all.
As I said earlier, we're going to just take a short break, and then we'll continue with the rest of our program this morning, which is to honor our vendors that are here. So those of you who feel a need to leave, you're free to do that, but we've got a little bit more, followed by we have a little presentation right now, a little slideshow presentation for you, and then of course there's a reception afterwards. So,
break. It's me and Rebecca. Good morning, fellow J-Labbers. I'm going to quickly give you a little history and show you some of the folks that... Oh. Does? Oh, hello. So I'm going to show a little of the history very briefly. So, prime modules are put together. After they're put together, you got some additional parts. We've got multiple lined up here in the production line. The space frame goes on. The vendor for our space frames is here. After it gets put into the vacuum vessel, this is the last one being taken over to put into the access building, lowered into the tunnel, and then final step is all manual, pushing it in position. Here's all 10 prime modules installed in the tunnel. North Linac, South Linac. Our concept of an RF zone that we need to power the prime modules. You might guess that this one was done by the high power engineer because the low level control racks are empty. This is a real zone with the plystrons in place. Low levels over there. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Low level controls are there, in fact, so here they are. We've got to keep the prime modules cold, so here was the conceptual picture of the warm compressors and the 4K cold boxes for the new CHL2. These are the compressors under fabrication at the vendor facility. Our vendor representative for this contract is here. These are the upper and lower cold boxes. Inside the cold box, it looks like this. You usually don't get to see that because it's just a great big tank on the outside. Takes a bit to get it here. You can see the size of the scale of this beast. 2 cranes to put it on the trailer and take it off. And here's everything installed. All the compressors in the building, the lower cold box, and the upper cold box on the outside. We removed every dipole in the machine and either replaced them, but the majority just got rebuilt. So for that rebuild, it was in the refurbishment bay. He was the guys working on multiple stations simultaneously, and then they all got measured before going back into the tunnel. Ken looks a little distracted. And here's the installation. Side left to put the magnets in place. And I'm not sure what's got them puzzled here, but we got it all done. And here's the arcs completed, the east and the west. And this was the brand new Arc 10. Well, it's got a different color, I think. We ripped out the spreaders and recombiners to broom clean. There had been spreaders and recombiners, went away completely. The stands are gone, magnets are gone. All the new stands are in here, and here's all the magnets that have been reworked and reinstalled, plus reworked girders. And here's walking around the machine for all 5 of those reworked spreaders and recombiners. On the original machine, they were called Harwood's and dialysis nightmares. This time it's called Bevan's nightmare. New beam line to Hall D, going up from the Linac elevation up the ramp, further up the ramp, and then at the end. Brand new beam line and tunnel. Beam lines to A, B, and C were reworked. Here's up the switch yard, and here's the beginning. So it sort of walks around this way. You see the 3-way split happening here. Extraction, we added more additional RF separator cavities and repositioned them for our 12 GeV configuration, and then prep for expanding the number of halls that can be delivered at fifth pass. A happy day was when everything was leak tight inside the shield walls. And this is the crew that did the last measurements, and we're really happy that day. Power supplies for the magnets, a fairly sizable contract. Here are the ones for arcs 1, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, and then one of the new trim racks. And here's Augie. Forgets which one this is he's working on. Anyway, a lot of work to get those. There were some challenges, but we got them all online. And here's another one getting work. Of course, it's one thing to have a beam line and a beam, but we need to make sure it's going in the right place. So INC took care of that. New strip line BPMs with extraordinary capability and precision. New viewers that went into the tunnel. The new beam line got current monitors and beam stoppers. In the whole beam line, there's fast feedback, there's some of the directors installed, one of the nanoamp BPMs assemblies, and this is the installation of the very first one. With everything in place, commissioning occurred earlier this year. Not quite everything was in place at that time, but here's the beam spots as we walk around the machine at 2-point GeV per pass. Commissioning team proceeded after that and got 10.5 GeV to the Hall D Tagger ball. Extraordinary accomplishment at the time that was available. That's what I've got. Back. My thanks to everybody that's in the room and to those that we couldn't fit in. It took all of you.
So before they could do the accelerator piece of it, we had the conventional facilities. And for the biggest part of the conventional facilities that everybody recognizes is the Hall D complex. And it's kind of surprising, but that was in May of 2009 when we actually started the construction, and it was with the clearing of the trees. And we were actually outside of the fence for the Hall D complex until we actually did our tie-in to the existing accelerator tunnel. So the first thing is setting up a dewatering system. The groundwater is only about 5 feet below grade here. And so we were digging a hole that was over 20 feet deep. So you have to depress the water table in the area where you're going to do your construction first. And that's a lot of the line that you see, the red line here. This is part of the dewatering system. And then here is a picture of the excavation in progress. So we had our lab management out there on a regular basis, making sure that we were making progress. So here you see a photo of Mont and Klaus. But then we have record rainfalls in November of 2009. I don't know if you remember, I think it was 16 inches in 2 days. So that kind of filled our hole. And we had ARA funds on this, and they said, procurement said, you're not supposed to build swimming pools with ARA money. So we did have a few challenges there. But we got to the point where we did do our concrete pour in January of 2010. For the floor slab, we had a continuous pour going on. It did start in the daylight and went into the evening to finish that concrete pour. We were actually trying to get it in place before a freeze was about to happen. That would have damaged our waterproofing. So this is one of those timelines where we got in there before we had another issue to deal with. So then next they go to building the walls, and they continue building those walls higher. And then we have, you can see the truck ramp piece of it coming together also as we phase through this piece of it. And then finally, the hall is done so that they can start building the experimental equipment. And part of that is we have an inspection, and we were turning it over to the physics group, the Hall D team leaders there accepting the hall, and it was empty at one time. They're the ones that filled it up. So then we continue on with the counting house. We have the tagger area where they have the electron beam is kicked off into a dump, and then the photon beam carries under. All of this stuff you can't see now because it's under ground for radiation shielding. And that gives you a view. So we had a shutdown in the summer of 2011, and this was for the accelerator shutdown, and it was to make the connection into the existing accelerator tunnel. And right here was a little stub, kind of think of it as a thumb, that we actually did the tie into. But this was a little challenging because there was a hurricane, I think it was Irene, so it wasn't too severe, but we held off actually cutting into that stub until after the hurricane. But this here is the first chunk of concrete, or one of the chunks of concrete that came out of the existing tunnel so that we could actually do the connection in for the transport. So you see another overview, August of 2011. Here's the cryo plant. Again, cryo plant was empty. They filled it up. And our service building, which adds cooling systems for the Hall D complex, and then an electrical room that provides space for the instrument and control racks and the power supplies for the accelerator operations, and the Tiger, and then a final photo of the counting house, and then an overview after construction is complete, where you see most of the things are below grade now. So just want to run through, the other big piece of it was utility upgrades. Very little bit with buildings, but a couple of things I want to recognize with the contractors. In October, we finished the additions to the north and south access buildings and electrical upgrades. This was actually courthouse construction that had the prime contract for that piece of it. Then we also did upgrades to the LCW, the low conductivity water system. This is to cool the magnets for the accelerator and also the power supplies. And this is a photograph in that building addition of the pumps and the stainless steel piping that they use for that system. And here is the cooling tower and the heat exchanger that removes the heat from the accelerator magnets and the power supplies. I'd like to point out that this prime contract was held by D.E. Kirby Mechanical Contractors. And then we have a photograph here. Here's some more of the pumps of the LCW, but also the controls that it takes to operate, monitor the systems for proper operation, and those controls were installed by Honeywell. Honeywell also installed the controls at the Hall D complex. Little addition there, just move real quickly. Then we also did an addition to the CHL for cooling of the cryo modules. They doubled the plant, the accelerator group did. This here is putting the concrete for the floor slab. And then as the building progressed, again, we did turn over an empty building to them. It is full now for operations. And also done by D.E. Kirby was the contract to upgrade the utility for the CHL2 plant, which included cooling and electrical as shown in this overview, and then just some snapshot photos of that work with the cooling towers and then the electrical upgrades. And I'd just like to thank everybody and turn this over now.
Okay, so the next phase, we'd like to invite Tim Holman, the head of the Office of Nuclear Physics, Associate Director for the Office of Science, to say a few words. Tim.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Juan, for this invitation, for this very nice celebration. I feel very close to the JLab family because we've sort of traveled this journey together for such a long time. So for me, this feels a little bit, like I'm an uncle and I'm watching a niece or nephew graduate from college. And so it's a very a happy moment. So it's already been said very clearly, the enormous impact this project has had on the Virginia economy and on developing a further technological base for the state of Virginia. And it's also been extolled, the very high level of importance this is going to mean for the science of the United States. And so I wanted to take a slightly different tack with my comments here and just say that this has been, in some sense, a remarkable achievement, and I would even go so far to say it was sort of a modern marvel. And so when you think of what has to go into a project like this, it's just stunning. So it all begins with scientists, who have their minds are in an abstract world dealing with particles that are so small that you will never see them directly, but they know they're there because they can see the evidence of what they do. And they think of things that are so important for understanding how our universe works that they're just compelled to push for a project to understand those things better. And so, so they make a proposal. But then they have to go not only convince their science colleagues in other fields of science, but they have to convince people who are not scientists that this science is so compelling that it's in the best interest of the United States of America to pursue this project and begin to proceed. And so that in itself is one huge hurdle at the beginning, and as Jerry pointed out, that started here more than 10 years ago. After you sort of get past that hurdle, then the designers and the engineers all get busy, and they take the scientist's concept for what they need and they turn it into real physical things that need to be built and constructed. And of course that takes a certain amount of time, and everything has to be done according to a certain schedule and on cost. When that's done, people have to start building things, and so there's some of it that gets built here by the staff of the laboratory, but some of it goes out into industry. And so I can imagine in the industry, you know, they get prints and contracts for things that may look like they're the subjects of science fiction. They use materials you may never heard of that need tolerances that nobody's ever done. And they don't know what it has to match up to, so they have to deliver their piece perfect, on time and on budget. And then all of that has to fit together like a $350 million Swiss watch. With precision, and so that, you know, ultimately when the scientists do flip the switch, and there is a switch, but we make them jump through a lot of hoops before they can turn that switch. When you turn the switch, you can take a particle that we can't see, an electron, you can make it go through miles of magnets and all kinds of turns and loops, and after all that journey through those miles of magnets, it winds up being exactly where they want it within, you know, microns of precision. And so it's truly, both from a sociological standpoint, from the standpoint of what industry contributes, how it sort of helps grow our nation's strength technically and scientific. It's just, I would say, nothing short of a modern marvel. And I think everyone in this audience is to be congratulated, from everybody, you know, the scientists, the technical people, the technicians, the designers, the companies that contributed, the management of the laboratory. It's just a wonderful thing. And so I, on behalf of the DOE, want to thank everyone in this room for what we've achieved to date. That said, we still have work to do. What we've done so far is we've accomplished the machine that's going to be able to make the beams that are going to allow the scientists to do the science. Now what we need to do are build the instruments that the scientists actually need to see those beams. And so that work is ongoing. The work is not done completely, and so I'm looking forward to a day not too long from now when we'll all be here again, perhaps cutting a ribbon. Maybe we won't have a switch, but we can cut a ribbon or something. And finally complete the remainder of the project. But that's a story for the future, but today, this is a wonderful day. It's a wonderful accomplishment. And again, on behalf of the DOE, I want to say thank you to everybody who worked so hard and was dedicated in commitment for more than the better part of a decade. This is truly a remarkable achievement, and it's your achievement, so thank you.
Okay, so we now move into, if you wish, the final phase of this morning's celebration. It's been mentioned once or twice already, and Tim emphasized it. We do not build every last piece of this. We do not pour all the concrete ourselves. It's extremely important that we have vendor partnerships, and so the next phase will talk about our recognition of our vendor partners. So it's going to be handled by Alison Long, who's Deputy Project Leader, and Klaus Rowe, who is the Project Leader. And I think that Jerry and myself, I used the term yesterday, we're supposed to participate as eye candy. We'll actually handle the certificates. But, Alison.
In support of the Accelerator and conventional facilities work that formed the basis for this CD4A approval, a total of 11 vendors were selected for special recognition. 7 of those vendors have representatives here today to participate in this ceremony. I will introduce 3 of those vendors, and they will come down and receive their certificates, and then Klaus will introduce the remaining 4 vendors. D.E. Kirby Mechanical Contractors of Portsmouth, Virginia was the prime contractor on 2 major procurements under the conventional facilities scope of the 12 GeV upgrade. The total contract value was $5.7 million. One contract was to provide cooling water and electrical upgrades for the compressors of CHL2. The second contract upgraded the low conductivity water systems in the north and south access buildings. The timely execution of the LCW upgrades by D.E. Kirby allowed Accelerator operations to restart on time after the machine shutdown period in fiscal 2011. Mr. Bob Kirby is here from D.E. Kirby to accept the certificate for outstanding contractor performance.
Thank you very much.
Honeywell of Richmond, Virginia was a lower tier subcontractor on the Hall D complex, as well as the low conductivity water upgrades to the north and south access buildings. They installed all the building and industrial automation system controls for the mechanical systems, which enable remote monitoring and operations. On the Hall D construction project, Honeywell increased on-site staffing and compressed their work schedule in order to help the prime contractor meet the schedule for the Accelerator shutdown period in fiscal 2011. Mr. George Ichnowski and Mr. Rob Morris are here from Honeywell to receive the certificate for outstanding contractor performance. NSC Technologies of Portsmouth, Virginia is Jefferson Laboratories' protege under the Department of Energy's Mentor Protege program. They remain our primary contractor for the supply of critical temporary personnel to augment the Jefferson Lab workforce during both short and long shutdowns of the Accelerator. NSC Technologies provided over 19 temporary personnel during the upgrade to date, including specialty trades such as welders, mechanical techs, cable pullers, and pipe fitters, for a total combined labor hours in excess of 79,000 hours with no reportable accidents. Ms. Jennifer Tallman and Ms. Paula Sanchez are here from NSC to receive the contract.
Now we're going to switch over to our Accelerator vendors. We have 4. The first one is Advanced Design Consulting, based in Lansing, Michigan. They were awarded 2 contracts totaling $1.6 million. The first contract was $400,000 for the 10 space frames in the new cryo module which supported the cavities. You saw the picture that Lee showed you. The second contract was $1.2 million for producing the H-iron that was added to the arc dipoles. To this reduce the field in the iron, thereby reducing power and cooling requirements. Mr. Alex Daham is here from ADC to accept a certificate in recognition for this excellent performance. The new klystrons that are critical powering the high-performance cavities were developed and provided by L3 Electronic Devices of Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. You saw a picture of several of the 80 units that were produced for a contract value of $3.5 million. Mr. Michael Boyd and Mr. Dennis Bach are here from L3 Electronic Devices to accept this certificate for excellent performance. Third vendor is Lindy Process Systems Incorporated of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which provided 4.5K coal boxes for a contract value of $12 million. These coal boxes incorporate the Jefferson lab Agani cycle, which has proven efficient and reliable machines for worldwide range of operating conditions. Mr. John Urban is here from Lindy to accept the certificate for excellent performance. So that was the coal box. Now we need a compressor system. PHP Technology of Columbus, Ohio was awarded the $3.7 million contract to provide the warm screw compressors, 5 of them that drive the CHL refrigerator. These compressors ranged horsepower from 800 to 2,500 horsepower each. The workmanship, attention to detail, and the final product assembly resulted in a very quick turnaround in installation time and reliable performance. Mr. Tom Sively is here from PHP Technology to accept this award. So that concludes the formal part of this ceremony. Let me thank you all for coming here today. I want to give special thanks to our federal and Virginia funding agencies that made this project possible. I want to thank all our local supporters who have been avid supporters of this project, this laboratory, for the last 28 years. I want to thank the JLab staff that has made this possible. This meeting is basically for the Accelerator and civil people. The physics people will have to wait a few more years for that part. I want to give special thanks to those of you that started 16 years ago on the pre-conceptual design for this project and have stuck with us this long. Thank you very much for coming. And there's a reception outside with some refreshments.
Okay. sweat so bad on it.